I thought you might find it interesting if I share a few tips and my thought process when I visit a new location. I've done hundreds, maybe thousands of these shoots professionally, so these tips may help you make some money from your photography. Of course, you may just be looking to improve the holiday photo album. I was in Folkestone recently on the southeast coast of England, and the goal was to wander around and take some photos that capture the location and hopefully communicate what the place is like and keep the viewer interested, which is what publications want, or indeed your Aunt Mabel, who has to sit through your holiday album when she pops around when all she really wanted was a glass of sherry. Okay, so for all of you interested in gear, I took my trusty Nikon Z50 with me with a manual 35mm prime. And that's it, nice and simple. The first thing I do is look for a wide shot that shows where I am, an establishing shot to give the audience a sense of place. And when you first approach a location, the temptation is to get straight to it and shoot something like this. Well, everyone takes the same obvious shot, and there's nothing wrong with that. It may be the best shot you can get, maybe the only place, maybe the only angle you can access, but I think it's worth looking for something potentially more interesting, a little bit more unique. I found that publications like something more creative, and it doesn't hurt to try a few things and experiment. That's part of the fun, right? I found some flowers to include in the foreground here, and I quite like the idea of putting the focus on them and having the background out of focus. You still get an idea of what the place is like. It's just a little bit more interesting. My goal is to take viewers on a visual journey, starting with those wide establishing shots and then show what's really unique and interesting about the location. Local landmarks, for instance, and in Folkestone, this mermaid is one of those unique, iconic landmarks. This is one of those photos where you need to spend a few minutes looking for the best angle to keep the shot free from unnecessary distraction like the fence and sign here. This is too busy for my liking, so something like this works much better. I like the pier that helps provide some context too, and it also happens to be another key feature and attraction of Folkestone. All I did was move over a few feet. It's really easy to get wrapped up in shooting wide and trying to capture as much as possible in the scene, but looking for small details can really support and enhance your visual story and help communicate the experience of being there. It makes your photo series so much more interesting. These images are so simple, minimalistic, but say so much about being at the seaside. It's people that make a location special and bring it to life. People create the character of a place, they create the culture, and I believe it is essential to capture and communicate that. This ice cream van is a distinctive feature of the harbour, and the guy serving is a colourful character full of personality. Many photographers find it really hard to engage with people and ask to take their photo. I did once, but realised that if you show an interest in what they're doing and ask politely, very few people actually say no. The more you chat to people, the more comfortable they become, and you can even ask them to pose, art direct them a little, which is what I did with this guy. The harbour scene can be quite chaotic, and the temptation is just to point the camera and shoot without giving too much thought. Well, what's wrong with this photo? I actually didn't take a moment to really look at what I was shooting, and I cut through the Martello Tower with a mast, and a couple of the boats got cut off. The entire composition just doesn't quite feel right. With this shot, I moved slightly so the Martello Tower is not being obstructed, and I made sure the boats all sat nicely, spaced apart, and didn't get cut off. The end result is less chaotic, and it has a calmer feel to it, everything being in the frame, it just feels more aesthetically pleasing. Do you agree? Here's another example of trying to find a shot free from distraction and also experimenting with finding more interesting compositions. I like this photo of reflections reminding us that this was once a train platform and also showing how it's being used today for recreational activities. The lighthouse at the end of the harbour arms is iconic. The temptation as we approach it is to simply lift our camera and shoot it something like this. It's nicely placed, but can I do anything more interesting? By shooting from the old railway platform, I can use the platform and its roofline as really strong leading lines that take the eye right to the lighthouse. The dark curved shapes balance really nicely with the left side of the composition, and it makes a graphically interesting image. The horizon sits on the top third of the frame, which works well. But I don't need to position the lighthouse on the right third because the composition is so strong it works well as it is. Composition rules can be broken sometimes, and our own aesthetic judgment is what's really important. I think that's a strong composition. Maybe you're thinking, why don't I move closer and fill the frame more with the lighthouse? Well, I like shooting something vertically at this distance with plenty of negative or fairly non-busy space. Because if my photos are published, this makes a great full-page image with plenty of space to drop in text and other photos, like this. Before I head home, I wander around trying to find some more wider establishing shots, and I found one. I love this shot. The most important takeaway here is don't be afraid to take risks, either by asking people if you can photograph them or trying experimental things with your compositions. Get creative. If they don't work, they don't work. You don't know until you try. And if you do want to get your work purchased by a client or published, then having unique, interesting, creative images is the way to get noticed. Publications are always looking for something a little bit different, images that can stand out from the crowd. Here are a couple more videos for you to watch with more travel, photography, tips and thoughts.